Stanley. I'm going over really quick some of the things that I have learned working on my senior project so far. Excuse me. Now, to summarize all the things that I've learned so far, still feels like I'm not going to be able to cover everything in a reasonable amount of time. But I'm going to give it a whirl. So, I'm doing a couple different things here in my senior project that I'm really trying to learn from this. First being how to become proficient in C#, which has not really been taught by the school until this past semester. So it's kind of been a side project of my own to try to learn it. So when I met my partner, Jared, and he was interested in doing this project in C#, I knew it was a great opportunity for myself to really sink my teeth into it and learn on a whole nother level than what maybe even provided in a beginner or intermediate class. And then the next aspect is using this game engine known as Unity. Now, the Unity engine is used to create many different programs, softwares, video games, etc. It's a graphical rendering engine that can be used for, you could use it for virtually anything, and we're, I think, doing a good example of that by creating a music visualizer app in a VR environment. So already, I've learned a bunch of things about VR and how VR cameras work that try to get those things to work based on, you think of a notion of a game on a computer where you're controlling the camera via your mouse, and essentially you have to convert those type of movements to be moved by a person's head. And things such as that. So it's a very interesting process. But the things I want to go over really quick are, the first thing that I really worked on was collecting what's called the spectrum data from a song. Now, I'm going to go ahead and play this. This is my first real attempt at, I don't know why this is also big. Let me try to drag it over. Sorry about that. This is my first real attempt at gathering what's called spectrum data. Now, this data, and excuse the music playing in the background for just a minute, but essentially spectrum data is the wavelengths, the hertz that are collected from a song. I'm going to go ahead and pause it just to make sure you guys can hear me. And displaying that data in a visual form. That's literally what a music visualizer is. So, I'm taking this, without going into all the detailed code and bothering you guys, essentially I'm gathering what's called the spectrum data using an audio listener, and it collects this data and converts it into movement. I'm just going to show that for a second here just so you guys can understand. So essentially, where a note may be high, that end of the spectrum is going to move up. Or where a note may be more low, that end of the spectrum moves up. And that's the science of music visualization. So just go ahead and just see kind of what I'm talking about here. This is the whole entire spectrum of music. So it's a little big. This is not how we're actually using it, but this is essentially the entire spectrum of sound. So that's that. I know that was probably too loud, but I wanted you guys to be able to see and understand. That's essentially the first big hurdle I had in this, was collecting that spectrum data. Now, the next thing I wanted to show was some of the VR work that we had done. So essentially this represents, if looking out through a person's eye, you can kind of see how it's circular. It's saying, like, this is what a person is seeing. So using this, we create a file browser. I only have it showing one file right now, but essentially it has the ability to look at the device's memory and get songs from device memory and load it. And you can see this is actually a different form of music visualization, but it essentially works the same. You can see the colors and the pillars move based on the song being played. Now this is still an early in the process work. This is not kind of the whole picture we got going on here. But I think this gives a good example of kind of what I've been working on and what I've been learning. I'm very excited about this project overall, and I have a great partner, and I've learned a lot about C# programming so far from working on this, and I've learned a lot about game design as well and working with graphics engines. A lot of the work is done by this Unity engine, and trying to figure out the multi-threading, how to multi-thread with C# was a challenge, and so I mean, I've loved it so far. So if you guys have any questions or comments, please feel free to let me know, and I will be more than happy to answer them. Thanks. Bye-bye.